This story is very meaningful. Everyone should hear it. Listen to Brian tell the story. I stood in my parents' living room, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might crack my ribs, staring at my mother as she calmly sipped her tea like she hadn't just shattered my world. "You took my wedding fund," I said, my voice trembling with a mix of rage and disbelief. $125,000 I scraped together over 5 years, and you gave it to Tyler for his honeymoon? She didn't even flinch. My dad, sprawled on the couch with a bag of potato chips, mumbled something about family sticking together, but I barely heard him over the roaring in my ears. I'd saved that money for a beach wedding. Waves crashing, sand between my toes, Ethan smiling at me under a golden sunset. Instead, it was gone, funding my spoiled little brother's European escapade with his influencer wife. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, the betrayal sinking in like cold water seeping through my skin. I'm Mia, 26, an ad exec who spent half a decade pinching pennies for my dream day with Ethan, my water-loving husband of 6 years' romance. We're the couple who'd sneak off to the beach every month just to breathe, to escape the grind. That money was our future, our moment. And now, it was a pile of receipts for Tyler's pizzas in Rome. It started innocently enough. Ethan and I were in our cramped California apartment, flipping through brochures for oceanfront hotels. The salty breeze drifted through the window, teasing me with visions of our wedding, maybe a steel drum band, guests in flip-flops, me in a flowy dress with seashells in my hair. Ethan grinned, his hazel eyes crinkling as he tossed out ideas. What if we get a food truck with fish tacos? Keep it chill, you know? I laughed, leaning into him on our thrift store couch, feeling lighter than I had in months. Deal, but you're dancing with me barefoot, no excuses. We were so close I could taste it. 5 years of late nights at the agency, skipping takeout to save a buck, all building to this. Then my phone buzzed. It was Mom, Linda, her voice shaky and high-pitched. "Mia, it's your dad. He's sick. Diabetes flare-up. The doctors say he needs special meds from Europe. Insurance won't cover it. I need $125,000, honey. Please." My stomach dropped. Dad's health had always been shaky, and I pictured him frail, hooked to machines. I didn't hesitate. "Okay, Mom, I'll send it. Just take care of him." Ethan squeezed my hand, his brow furrowing, but he didn't argue. I wired the money that night, my chest tight with worry, my dream wedding fading like mist over the Pacific. Weeks passed and something felt off. I'd visit my parents' house, an old ranch-style place cluttered with Mom's astrology books and Dad's sports memorabilia, and Dad would be lounging in bed, looking more bored than sick. Once I caught him sneaking a beer, his cheeks ruddy, not pale like I'd imagined. "Dad, how are you feeling?" I asked, setting a bouquet of daisies on the nightstand. He coughed dramatically, crumbs falling from his lips. "Oh, you know, hanging in there. Your mom's got it under control." I pressed Mom for medical papers, anything to ease my growing unease, but she'd dodge me with excuses. "Mia, I'm swamped figuring out his star chart. Saturn's in retrograde, it's a mess," she'd say, waving me off. I wanted to believe her, but doubt gnawed at me like a persistent tide eroding the shore. Then came the call that cracked it all open. I dialed Tyler, my 24-year-old brother, just to check in. "Hey, when are you visiting Dad? He's not doing great," I said, pacing my kitchen. Tyler's voice was breezy, oblivious. "Oh, I'll swing by after my honeymoon. Just got back from Italy. Man, the gelato there beats anything in Cali." I froze, the phone slippery in my sweaty palm. "Honeymoon? What honeymoon?" He laughed. "Yeah, me and Chloe went all out. Mom and Dad hooked us up, said it was like $135,000. Pretty sweet, right?" My knees buckled. I sank onto a stool, the room spinning. My money, my wedding, gone. I stormed back to my parents' place, Ethan trailing me for backup, my fury boiling over like a summer squall. Tyler was there too, sprawled on the recliner, while Chloe, his new wife, snapped selfies by the fireplace, her blonde curls bouncing as she angled for the perfect shot. "Tell me it's not true," I demanded, my voice sharp enough to cut glass. Mom set her teacup down, her lips pursing like she'd rehearsed this. "Mia, calm down. Tyler's been miserable at work. Sales are tough, you know that. He needed this trip." Dad nodded, crunching a chip. "Yeah, and I'm not exactly dying here, so it worked out." Chloe chimed in, oblivious, her phone still raised. "Guys, this lighting is gold. Oh, wait, are we fighting? Should I go live?" I wheeled on Tyler. You knew that was my money? He shrugged, smirking. You're the big earner, sis. I figured you'd bounce back. I wanted to scream, to shake them all until they felt the weight of what they'd stolen. Not just cash, but my trust, my plans, my joy. Instead, I turned and left, tears stinging my eyes, Ethan's arm around me the only thing keeping me upright. Back home, I collapsed on the couch, sobbing into Ethan's shoulder. He stroked my hair, his voice steady despite the anger flashing in his eyes. We'll figure this out, Mia. They don't get to ruin us. That's when Jade burst in, my best friend since college, a law student with a mouth like a sailor and a nose for bullshit. She'd been skeptical of my family forever, and now she was practically vibrating with I told you so energy. I knew it. Your mom's a con artist and Tyler's a leech. We're getting that money back, babe. I wiped my face, hope flickering through the haze of hurt. How? They won't admit it. Jade grinned, wicked and sharp. Leave it to me. I'll play dirty. She grabbed her phone and dialed Mom, her voice morphing into a clipped, professional tone. Hi, Linda. This is Sarah from Blue Shield Insurance. We're reviewing Mr. Robinson's claim. Can you send us the receipts for his medication? I held my breath as Mom stammered. Well, it's complicated. We didn't keep those. Jade pounced. So there's no treatment? No bills? Mom cracked. Okay, fine. There's no emergency. We just needed the money. Ethan hit record on his phone just in time, and I felt a rush of triumph mixed with nausea. We had proof. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. I wanted justice, not just an admission. Ethan had a wild idea, sparked by the latest craze sweeping 2025 America, family court TV shows. Let's take this public, he said, his grin boyish but fierce. Sue them on Family Court Live. They'll cave under the cameras. I hesitated, the thought of airing our dirty laundry terrifying, but Jade egged me on. Do it, Mia. They'll trip over themselves to look good and hand us the win. So we filed the suit, and soon my family was summoned to a soundstage in L.A., bright lights glaring down as a judge in a tacky robe presided. Mom tried her sob story, clutching a handkerchief. My poor Tyler was depressed. Social media is so hard on kids these days. Dad fumbled, blurting, I'm fine, really. Just ate too many wings that week. Chloe, true to form, live-streamed the whole thing on Instagram, captioning it, Family Reunion Gone Wrong, smash that like button. The audience ate it up, Twitter exploding with hashtags like Hawad and Hawad Honeymoon Heist. When the judge ruled in our favor, $125,000 plus a $10,000 fine for fraud, I nearly cried again, this time from relief. We'd won. I should have felt victorious, standing there with Ethan and Jade as the studio audience cheered, but the knot in my chest wouldn't loosen. It wasn't over. Not while Mom's crocodile tears still echoed in my head. Not while Tyler smirked like he'd get away with it again. The judge's gavel had barely cooled when my phone lit up with a text from Chloe. Nice try, sis-in-law. Enjoy your 15 minutes. We've got a plan. My stomach twisted. What plan? Ethan saw my face and snatched the phone, his jaw tightening. They're not done screwing with us, he muttered, handing it back. Jade, sipping a soda she'd swiped from the green room, rolled her eyes. Of course they're not. Your family's like a bad reality show, too dumb to quit. I wanted to laugh, but the unease clung to me like damp sand. They'd already taken my money once. What else could they steal? Back home, I couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was brewing. Ethan and I sat on our balcony, the ocean a distant hum, trying to plan our scaled-down wedding. Aunt Liz's farmhouse could work, he said, sketching a layout on a napkin. We'll bring in some beach vibes, shells, maybe a wave machine. I nodded, forcing a smile, but my mind was elsewhere. Then Jade burst through the door, her laptop under her arm, eyes wide. You're not going to believe this. Chloe's gone viral. She flipped the screen around. Chloe's latest Instagram reel, titled The Truth About My Evil Sister-in-Law, had racked up 2 million views overnight. There she was, pouting in a designer sundress, claiming I'd bullied Tyler into depression and tricked the court with fake evidence. Mia's always been jealous of us, Chloe whined, twirling a strand of hair. She's trying to ruin our lives. Comments poured in. Poor Chloe. Mia sounds toxic AF. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just petty, it was a full-on smear campaign. I felt sick, my hands shaking as I scrolled through the hate. Ethan pulled me into a hug, his voice low. She's lying, and we'll prove it. Again. But the damage was spreading. My boss at the ad agency called an hour later, her tone clipped. Mia, clients are asking about this drama. Keep it off the radar, okay? I mumbled a yes, my throat tight, humiliation burning my cheeks. Jade, pacing like a caged tiger, slammed her laptop shut. We need reinforcements. I'm calling Marco. Marco was her cousin, a scruffy tech whiz who'd once hacked a rival firm's Wi-Fi for fun. He showed up that night, hauling a duffel bag of gadgets, his grin all mischief. Heard your fam's gone full supervillain. Let's fight fire with fire. I didn't know what he meant, but his energy, half chaos, half genius, gave me a flicker of hope. Marco dug into Chloe's digital footprint while Jade coached me on countering the narrative. Post your side, she urged. People love an underdog. I hesitated. I hated the spotlight, but Ethan backed her up. Show them the real you, Mia, the fighter. So I recorded a shaky video, sitting cross-legged on our couch, the ocean faint behind me. I saved for my wedding. My parents lied about a medical emergency and gave it to my brother. I'm not the villain here. I hit post, my heart racing, and watched the views climb. Some called me brave. Others, egged on by Chloe, branded me a liar. Then Marco whooped from the kitchen. Jackpot! Chloe's dumb enough to geotag her honeymoon pics, hotels, receipts, dates, ties it all to your money, Mia. My pulse quickened. Hard evidence, not just words. But Tyler struck next. He showed up at Ethan's office the following day, flanked by a guy I didn't recognize. Vince, a sleazy loan shark type with slicked back hair and a gold chain. Ethan texted me, frantic. They're here. Tyler's saying he'll settle if we drop the case. I raced over with Jade and Marco, my nerves frayed. Tyler leaned against Ethan's desk, smug as ever, while Vince cracked his knuckles. Look, sis, Tyler said, we'll pay you $50,000 to call it quits. Vince here's fronting it. No more court. No more drama. Ethan glared, his fists clenched. That's not even half what you owe. Vince stepped forward, his smile oily. Take it, or we make this personal. Fear spiked through me, but Jade laughed, loud and sharp. Personal? Buddy, we've got your asses on tape. Smile for Marco's drone. Marco waved from the window. A tiny camera buzzed outside, recording everything. Tyler paled, Vince cursed, and they bolted. That night I couldn't sleep, the adrenaline warring with exhaustion. Ethan held me, whispering, we're stronger than them. But Chloe's next move hit harder. She leaked a doctored audio, my voice, twisted by AI, admitting I'd lied about the money. It spread like wildfire, tanking my video's credibility. I stared at my phone, tears blurring the screen, feeling the weight of their spite crushing me. Jade slammed her fist on the table. This is war. Marco, Hacker Cloud, find the original. Marco cracked his knuckles, diving into code, while I clung to Ethan, praying we could outlast this storm. Marco's fingers flew across his keyboard, the glow of the screen casting shadows on his scruffy face, while I sat hunched on the couch, Ethan's arm around me, my tears drying into a crust of anger. Chloe's fake audio had gutted me, my own voice, warped by some AI trick, saying, I made it all up, the money was a gift. It was everywhere now, racking up retweets and comments like, knew she was a fraud, and Team Chloe forever. I felt exposed, flayed open for strangers to judge, my chest tight with a mix of shame and fury. How could she do this? I whispered, my voice hoarse. Ethan kissed my forehead, his breath warm against my skin. Because she's desperate. We're winning, and she knows it. Jade paced, her sneakers squeaking on our hardwood floor. Marco, tell me you've got something. I'm ready to bury these clowns. Marco grinned, not looking up. Patience, Prima. I'm in her cloud. Dumbass used Tyler23 as her password. Give me 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes stretched like hours. I got up, pacing with Jade, my mind racing. If we couldn't disprove the audio, my reputation was toast. My job, my wedding, everything I'd built. Then Marco whooped, spinning his laptop toward us. Boom! Original file. Her recording Tyler coaching her on the script. Timestamp matches your court win. I leaned in, my heart thudding as I heard Tyler's voice, lazy and smug. Just say me as a liar, babe. Make it juicy. People eat that up. Chloe giggled. Ooh, I'll add some tears. Relief flooded me, sharp and sweet, but it mingled with a fresh wave of disgust. They'd planned this, rehearsed it, like some sick game. Ethan squeezed my shoulder. We've got them now. Jade smirked, cracking her knuckles. Time to flip the script. Post it, Mia. Let the internet do its thing. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the upload button. Going public again felt like stepping into a lion's den, But I was done hiding. I posted the audio with a caption, "The real truth. My brother and his wife faked it all. This is who they are." Within an hour, it exploded. Views climbing past 1 million, hashtags shifting to hashtag Chloe exposed and hashtag justice for Mia. Strangers rallied, some even digging up Chloe's old posts, bragging about free vacays that lined up with my missing money. I watched, stunned, as the tide turned, a strange mix of vindication and exhaustion washing over me. Ethan pulled me close, whispering, "You're a badass, you know that?" I managed a shaky laugh, but the victory felt hollow. My family's betrayal still stung like salt in a cut. Then Tyler upped the ante. The next morning I woke to a pounding on our door. Ethan peeked through the blinds, his face hardening. It's him, and that Vince guy, plus some chick I don't know. My stomach lurched as I opened the door, finding Tyler, Vince, and a new face, Sasha, a wiry woman with dyed purple hair and a vape dangling from her lips. She smirked, sizing me up. "So you're the big sister causing all the fuss." Tyler crossed his arms, his usual swagger dialed up. "We're done playing, Mia. Sasha's a producer. Family Feud Uncovered wants our story. We're spinning it our way unless you back off." Vince loomed behind him, cracking his neck, while Sasha exhaled a cloud of cherry-scented smoke. "Drama sells, sweetie. Your little audio stunt? Cute, but we've got deeper dirt." I stood there, my pulse hammering, feeling cornered in my own home. Ethan stepped forward, his voice low. "Get out before I call the cops." Sasha laughed, sharp and grating. "Oh, we're legit. Signed contracts and all. Your parents are on board too. Linda's already pitching grieving mom vibes." My knees wobbled. Mom and Dad, teaming up with this circus? I wanted to scream, but Jade shoved past me, her eyes blazing. "You think you can intimidate us with a D-list producer and a thug? Marco's got drones, receipts, and your whole damn honeymoon on lock. Try us." Tyler flinched, but Sasha just shrugged. "See you on TV then." They left, and I sank onto the floor, my hands trembling. Ethan knelt beside me, his touch grounding me. "They're bluffing. We'll beat this too." Jade called an emergency war council that night. Me, Ethan, Marco, and a new ally. Lila, Ethan's co-worker, a soft-spoken graphic designer with a knack for social media trends. She'd been following the saga online, her brown eyes wide behind thick glasses. "Chloe's losing followers fast," Lila said, scrolling her tablet. "But this TV thing could flip it. People love a redemption arc." Marco nodded, uploading Chloe's original audio to a dozen platforms. "We keep the pressure on, flood their narrative with facts." I felt a surge of gratitude for this ragtag crew, but dread still gnawed at me. What dirt did Sasha have? I couldn't shake the image of Mom on some tacky set, crying for the cameras, twisting my life into her soap opera. The Family Feud Uncovered trailer dropped 2 days later, a glitzy mess of dramatic music and quick cuts. Mom wailed, "Mia abandoned us." Tyler pouted, "She's always hated me." Chloe dabbed fake tears. "I just wanted a happy marriage." I watched it on my phone, my breakfast turning to lead in my stomach. They'd painted me as the cold, selfish daughter, and the comments were brutal. What a monster. Cut her off for good. I threw my phone down, tears pricking my eyes, the unfairness choking me. Ethan found me curled up on the bed, his voice soft but firm. "They're liars, Mia. We've got the truth, and better people." He was right, but the hurt burrowed deeper, a wound I couldn't bandage. Lila had an idea that night, her quiet voice cutting through our gloom. "Let's make our own video. Not just facts, but you, Mia. Raw, real. People connect to that." I balked. I wasn't Chloe. I didn't crave the lens. But Ethan nodded. "Show them your heart. It's stronger than their bullshit." So we set up in our living room, the ocean a faint roar outside. I sat on the floor, hair messy, no script, just me. I'm Mia. I saved for a wedding because I love Ethan, because the beach is our place. My family took that money, lied about my dad being sick, and gave it to my brother. I'm not perfect, but I'm not the villain. My voice cracked, tears spilling, and Ethan stopped filming to hug me. We posted it unedited, and I braced for the worst. Instead, it hit like a wave. Views soared, comments flooding with support. "Mia, your goals." "Screw those leeches." A local news station picked it up, then a podcaster. Suddenly, I was the story, not them. Sasha's show aired a week later, but the damage was done. Viewers called it fake as hell, and Chloe's live crashed mid-episode when Marco leaked a bonus clip. Tyler bragging to Vince about milking Mia dry. I watched their empire crumble from our balcony, Ethan's hand in mine, a quiet triumph settling over me. We hadn't just won, we'd rewritten the ending. Watching Sasha's show flop should have been the end of it. I stood on our balcony with Ethan, the ocean's murmur blending with the faint buzz of my phone as notifications piled up. Strangers cheering me, Chloe's followers deserting her, Tyler's smug face fading from the spotlight. The air smelled of salt and victory, and Ethan's hand in mine felt like an anchor pulling me back from the chaos. "We did it," he said, his voice rough with pride, and I nodded, a tired smile tugging at my lips. But deep down, a splinter of doubt lingered, sharp and cold. My family wasn't the type to slink away quietly. They'd always been loud, messy, relentless. I wanted to believe we'd buried them, but the pit in my stomach whispered otherwise. The next morning proved me right. I was brewing coffee, the kitchen bathed in soft light, when Jade burst in, her face a storm cloud. "You're not gonna like this," she said, shoving her phone at me. It was a text from Marco. "Check Tyler's new post. Shit's hitting the fan." My hands shook as I opened Instagram. There he was, my little brother, sitting in a dimly lit bar, his eyes red-rimmed like he'd been crying, or faking it. "Mia's ruined me," he said, his voice cracking. "I'm broke, my marriage is falling apart, and she's laughing all the way to the bank." The caption read, "Lost everything because of my sister. Need help. Link in bio." It was a crowdfunding page, Tyler begging for $150,000 to rebuild his life. My coffee mug slipped, shattering on the tile, hot liquid splashing my bare feet. I didn't feel the burn, just the rage, raw and blinding, surging through me like a riptide. "He's crowdfunding?" Ethan said, rushing in at the crash, his voice thick with disbelief. Jade snorted, but her eyes were hard. "Yep, playing the victim card. Already at 10 grand. People are eating it up." I stared at the broken mug, my breath ragged, feeling like he'd reached through the screen and slapped me. 5 years of late nights, skipped vacations, every penny hoarded for my wedding, and now he was spinning it into his sob story? I wanted to claw the phone apart, to march to that bar and shake him until he choked on his lies. Instead, I sank into a chair, my head in my hands, the weight of it crushing me. Ethan knelt beside me, his touch gentle but firm. "He's not winning this, Mia. We'll shut it down." Lila arrived an hour later, her tablet glowing with data, her calm voice a lifeline in the storm. "He's trending again. Hatch saved Tyler's picking up steam, but Chloe's quiet, which is weird." Marco followed, lugging his gear, his grin replaced by a rare scowl. "She's not quiet. She's plotting. I hacked her DMs. She's talking to some guy named Rex. Sounds like a fixer." My stomach flipped. Rex, a new name, a new threat. "What kind of fixer?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Marco shrugged, plugging in his laptop. "Dunno yet, but she's pissed. Keeps saying Mia's done. I'm digging deeper." Fear coiled around my spine, cold and tight. Tyler's crowdfunding was bad enough, but Chloe with a fixer? That felt darker, more dangerous. We huddled around Marco's screen, the room tense, the hum of his tech the only sound. He pulled up Chloe's messages, cryptic, but damning. "Rex, I need this big. Make her regret it," she'd written. His reply, "Gotcha. 20K, and I'll bury her." I swallowed hard, my mouth dry, picturing some shadowy figure plotting my ruin. Ethan's jaw clenched, his hand finding mine. They're bluffing again, trying to scare us. But his eyes betrayed him, worry flickered there, mirroring my own. Jade slammed her fist on the table, making us jump. "Screw this. I'm calling my prof. She's a retired DA, knows how to trace cash like Rex's. We're not waiting for them to strike." I nodded, grateful for her fire, but dread settled heavier. What could 20 grand buy against me? Hours later, Jade's professor, Ms. Carter, a steely woman with a smoker's rasp, showed up, her silver hair pulled tight, her presence commanding. She studied Marco's data, her lips pursed. "This Rex guy's likely a hired gun, PR, maybe blackmail. Crowdfunding's legal, but if Tyler's lying about the funds, we can nail him for fraud. Again." Her voice was gravelly, confident, and I clung to it like a raft. "What about Chloe?" I asked, my voice small. Ms. Carter's eyes narrowed. "If she's paying to hurt you, that's conspiracy. We need proof of the cash moving." Marco cracked his knuckles. "On it. I'll track her bank if I have to." I felt a flicker of hope, but it was fragile, easily drowned by the fear of what Chloe's "bury her" meant. Tyler's crowdfunding hit 50 grand by noon the next day. his sob story spreading like wildfire. I avoided my phone, the hate comments a dull ache I couldn't shake. Then Lila gasped, her tablet trembling in her hands. "Mia, look, Rex posted." It was a blog under a fake name, Truth About Mia Robinson, claiming I'd forged the court evidence, bullied Tyler since childhood, even stolen from my parents years ago. Lies, every word, but polished and vicious, with blurry photos of me looking angry, snapped out of context. My throat closed, panic clawing at me. "This is insane," I choked out, tears spilling. Ethan pulled me into his chest, his heart pounding against mine. "It's bullshit, Mia. We'll tear it down." But the damage was real. My boss texted again. "Meeting tomorrow. This is getting out of hand." Ms. Carter took charge, her voice cutting through our panic. "Marco, find Rex's IP. Lila, draft a rebuttal. Keep it sharp, emotional. Mia, you're not breaking yet." I nodded, wiping my face, her strength steadying me. Marco traced the blog to a shady VPN, but Chloe's sloppiness saved us. She'd Venmo'd Rex $5,000 with the memo first half. Ms. Carter smirked. "That's our hook, sloppy and admissible." Jade whooped, and I felt a spark of fight reignite, pushing back the despair. We posted Lila's rebuttal, my story, raw and fierce, with Chloe's payment screenshot. "This is who's lying," I wrote, my hands steady now. It hit hard, views spiking, #RexGate trending as people connected the dots. But Chloe wasn't done. That night, a brick crashed through our window, glass shattering across the living room, a note taped to it. "Back off or worse." I screamed, my knees buckling, Ethan catching me as Jade grabbed the note, her face pale. Marco ran outside, drone buzzing, but the street was empty. Ms. Carter arrived within the hour, cops in tow, her expression grim. "This is escalation. Attempted intimidation. We've got enough for a restraining order, maybe more." I clung to Ethan, my body shaking, terror and fury warring inside me. They'd crossed a line, and I wasn't just fighting for money anymore, it was survival. The glass glittered on our living room floor like jagged stars, the brick lying heavy in the middle, its note crumpled in Jade's fist. My scream still echoed in my ears, my legs jelly as Ethan held me up, his arms tight around me, his breath hot against my neck. "You're okay, Mia. I've got you," he whispered, but his voice trembled, betraying the fear he tried to hide. I couldn't stop shaking, my eyes locked on that scrawled threat. "Back off or worse," the words searing into me like a brand. Jade handed the note to Miss Carter, her hands unsteady for once, her bravado cracked. "These assholes mean business," she muttered. Ms. Carter, stone-faced, studied it under the flickering light of our busted lamp, the cops she'd brought scribbling in their notebooks. "Attempted intimidation," she said, her rasp cutting the silence. "We've got prints, a restraining order, and a felony if we tie it to them. Marco, anything on that drone?" Marco shook his head, slumping on the couch, his usual spark dimmed. "Nothing. Too dark, too fast." I sank onto the floor, glass crunching under me, terror clawing my throat. This wasn't just money anymore, it was war, and they'd brought it to my home. Lila hovered by the window, her glasses fogging with nervous breath, clutching her tablet like a shield. "This'll go viral if it leaks," she said, her voice small. "People are already obsessed." I wanted to snap at her. Viral was the last thing I needed, but she was right. My life was a circus now, and Chloe would spin this too. Ethan grabbed a broom, his movements jerky, anger radiating off him. "They don't get to do this," he growled, sweeping glass into a pile. "Miss." Carter nodded, her eyes sharp. "They won't. We're filing tomorrow, restraining order, plus a civil suit for damages. Mia, you ready to push back?" I looked up, my chest tight, fear warring with a growing ember of defiance. "Yeah," I said, my voice steadying. "They don't scare me off that easy." Sleep didn't come that night. Ethan and I curled up on the couch, the window boarded with plywood, every creak of the house making me flinch. He traced circles on my back, his touch the only thing keeping me from unraveling. "We'll get through this," he murmured, but I felt the weight of his worry, heavy as mine. Dawn broke gray and cold, and Jade dragged us to her professor's office, a cramped space stuffed with law books and cigarette stubs. Miss Carter laid out the plan. "Restraining order first, then we tie the brick to Chloe's payment to Rex. Marco's got her Venmo. I've got a contact at the bank who owes me a favor." Marco perked up, his fingers itching for his laptop. I'll sniff out Rex's trail. Guy like that doesn't cover tracks well. I nodded, clinging to their confidence, but my mind spun. What if worse meant more than a brick? Then Tyler called. I stared at his name flashing on my phone, my stomach twisting, Ethan urging me to answer. "Put it on speaker," Jade said, her eyes glinting. I did, my thumb shaking as I hit accept. "Mia, you've gone too far," he said, his voice thick with fake hurt. "Cops at my place, crowdfunding frozen. I'm broke because of you." I laughed, harsh and brittle, surprising myself. "Broke? You spent my 125 grand on gelato and Gucci, Tyler. Don't play martyr." He paused, then his tone shifted, colder. "Drop the suits or you'll regret it. We've got more coming." The line went dead, and I stared at the phone, my pulse racing, his threat echoing the brick's warning. Jade smirked. "He's scared. Good. Means we're close. Close, but not safe." That afternoon, Marco burst in, breathless, his laptop glowing with triumph. "Rex, he's a small-time crook, does dirty PR and intimidation. Real name's Reggie Torres. Got a rap sheet for stalking. Chloe paid him 15 grand total, second chunk yesterday." My heart leapt. Proof, solid and real. Ms. Carter nodded, already dialing her bank contact. "If we trace that to the brick, it's game over." But before she could finish, Lila shrieked, her tablet dropping. "Mia, Chloe's live!" We crowded around. Chloe sat in a plush hotel room, mascara streaked, sobbing. "Mia's framing us. That brick was a setup. She's unhinged." My jaw dropped, fury boiling over. "She's flipping it," I hissed, my fist clenching. Jade grabbed her phone. "We counter now." We rushed to film our response, my hands sweaty, Ethan steadying the camera. "This is my living room," I said, panning to the boarded window, my voice raw. "Last night someone threw this brick. Back off or worse. Chloe says I staged it. She paid a guy named Rex to ruin me. Here's the proof." I held up Marco's screenshots, my eyes burning with tears and rage. We posted it, and the internet erupted. Rexgate spiked. Chloe's live crashed under a flood of liar comments. But the win felt fragile. An hour later, Ms. Carter's contact confirmed the payment trail. 15 grand from Chloe to Reggie, hours before the brick. "It's enough for an arrest," she said, and I exhaled, relief sharp but fleeting. Then Reggie struck. I was alone, Ethan at work, Jade with Miss Carter filing papers, when my doorbell rang. I peeked out. Reggie Torres, wiry and mean, stood there, a smirk splitting his pockmarked face. "Mia, right? Let's chat." Panic surged, my hand fumbling for my phone, but he kicked the door open, stepping in before I could dial. "Chloe's done paying, but I'm not done working," he said, his voice low, menacing. "Drop everything or I don't just break windows next time." My heart slammed against my ribs, my breath shallow, every instinct screaming run. I backed toward the kitchen, grabbing a knife from the counter, my hand trembling. "Get out," I said, my voice louder than I felt. He laughed, stepping closer, then froze as Marco's drone buzzed through the broken window, red light blinking. "Smile, asshole," Marco's voice crackled from it, and Reggie bolted, cursing. I collapsed, the knife clattering, sobs wrenching from me as Ethan burst in minutes later. He'd sped home after Marco's frantic call. He held me, his shirt soaking my tears, his own eyes wet. "I'm so sorry I wasn't here," he choked out, and I clung to him, the fear still pulsing through me. Jade and Ms. Carter arrived with cops, Reggie's face already on their radar from the drone footage. "He's done," Ms. Carter said, her tone final. "Assault, breaking and entering, Chloe's tied to him. They're cooked." I nodded, numb, the adrenaline draining, leaving me hollow but alive. Reggie's arrest should have been the final nail, but I'd learned by now that my family didn't go down without clawing back. I sat on the balcony with Ethan that night, the ocean's roar a faint comfort, my body still wired from the day's chaos. His hand rested on mine, warm and steady, but his eyes were distant, scanning the dark like he expected another brick, or worse. "They're cornered," he said, his voice low. "That's when they're dangerous." I nodded, my throat tight, the weight of his words sinking in. Reggie was in cuffs, Chloe's lies were unraveling, and Tyler's crowdfunding was dead, yet I couldn't shake the feeling they'd try one last swing. I was right. The next morning, Jade called, her voice sharp with urgency. "Turn on Channel 5, now!" I fumbled for the remote, Ethan beside me, and there they were, Mom, Dad, and Tyler live on a sleazy morning talk show. Spill the tea. Mom dabbed her eyes with a tissue, her voice quivering. Mia's turned the world against us. She's always been jealous of Tyler. Dad nodded, his face flushed, probably from last night's beer, not shame. She's ungrateful after all we've done. Tyler leaned in, his puppy dog act dialed to 11. I just wanted a fresh start, but she's suing us into the ground. The host, a perky blonde named Tina, gasped dramatically. So you're the real victims? My stomach churned, bile rising as I watched them spin their web, the studio audience clapping like trained seals. They're rewriting it, I whispered, my hands clenching, fury and helplessness crashing over me like a wave. Ethan grabbed his phone, already texting Marco. They're toast. We've got too much on them. Marco replied fast. On it. Leaking Chloe's full payment logs to the station. Let's see Tina squirm. I paced, my heart pounding, torn between wanting to hide and wanting to fight. Lila showed up, her quiet resolve a balm, her tablet glowing with stats. Public split, half buy their sob story, half smell the BS. We need one more push, miss. Carter arrived, her silver hair glinting under our kitchen light, a stack of legal papers in hand. Restraining orders active, and Reggie's singing, says Chloe hired him for the brick and more. We've got her for conspiracy. My chest loosened, a flicker of hope cutting through the rage. More? I asked, my voice shaky. Ms. Carter smirked. He says Tyler wanted him to trash your car too, caught cold feet. Marco's leak hit during the show's commercial break. Tina came back flustered, holding a tablet, her smile strained. We've just received documents. Payments from Chloe Robinson to a Reggie Torres, linked to an attack on Mia's home. Care to explain? Mom stammered, Dad coughed, and Tyler's face went white. That's fake, he blurted, but the audience murmured, doubt rippling through them. I watched, my breath held as Marco texted. Chloe's busted. Cops are at her hotel. Relief surged, sharp and sweet, but it tangled with a hollow ache. They'd dragged me this far, and for what? Lila posted our final blow, a montage of every lie, from Mom's fake illness to Reggie's threats, narrated by me, raw and unfiltered. This is my family, I said, my voice breaking. They stole my dream, but not my fight. It went viral, burying their TV stunt in hours. The fallout was swift and brutal. Chloe was arrested that afternoon, conspiracy and intimidation, her mugshot plastered online, her influencer career a smoking ruin. Tyler tried fleeing to Vegas, but the crowdfunding donors sued him for fraud, draining his last dime. Mom and Dad holed up in their house, neighbors shunning them, their grieving parents' act laughed off every local news feed. I got my $125,000 back, court-ordered plus damages, and a call from my boss. Drama's over, Mia. You're gold. Clients love your grit. I stood in our wrecked living room, Ethan sweeping glass, and felt a strange peace settle. Not whole, not yet, but free. Our wedding came a month later, at Aunt Liz's farmhouse. No beach, but we hauled in sand, set up speakers with ocean sounds, strung lights like a starry tide. I walked barefoot to Ethan, his smile brighter than any sunset, Jade whooping as maid of honor, Marco filming, Lila shyly clapping. My family wasn't there. I'd blocked their numbers, their faces fading like bad dreams. We danced under the moon, my dress swaying, Ethan's hands warm on my waist, and I realized I'd won more than money. I'd found my people, my strength, a love they couldn't touch. As the night wound down, I slipped away to the porch, staring at the dark, a question lingering. What now? Tyler might crawl back, Chloe might resurface, but I'd be ready. Life's messy, open-ended, and mine was finally my own. Here's the lesson I learned. Family isn't blood, it's trust, and when it's gone, you build your own. My parents, Tyler, Chloe, they chose greed over me, and now they're paying, broken, while I'm standing taller than ever. If you've got a story like this, betrayal, fight, redemption, tell me. Drop it below, hit that like, subscribe if you're with me. We're not alone in this mess, and I want to hear how you clawed your way out too.